First 3 years, we built the greatest economy in the world. We made America great again. And then the coronavirus struck. And as we work to bring this economy back, we all have a role to play. And we all have a choice to make. On November 3rd, you need to ask yourself, who do you trust to rebuild this economy?
Vice President Mike Pence capping off the night last night, making the case that President Trump is the best pick for rebuilding the U.S. economy. Joel Griffith, a financial regulations research fellow for the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, joins us now from Washington. Joel, the vice president said voters have a choice this November when it comes to the economy. What does 4 more years of a Trump administration mean for the economy?
Well, 4 more years of a Trump administration would likely see a continuation of the tax cuts that we saw from several years ago. We know that that resulted in the typical family seeing about $2,800 more per year in their checking accounts. We also know that we had a record-long stretch of jobs growth, and we saw hundreds of billions of dollars flow back to this country from where those funds had been earned overseas. So 4 more years of those policies should produce 4 more years of positive economic results.
Now, in what way specifically does President Trump's vision for the economy contrast with the one that the Biden campaign has put forward?
Well, one of the big measures which former Vice President Biden has been pushing forward is a Green New Deal light. He's calling for all energy to be basically carbon neutral by 2035, the entire economy to be carbon neutral by 2050. The problem with that is that's going to cost the average family more than $7,000 per year. And you can look to California, you can look to internationally, look to a place like Germany, where they have dramatically higher energy costs. California, for instance, has a lot of these Green New Deal light measures already in place, and residents pay 60% more for their residential bills. And if you have a factory, you're paying about twice as much compared to the rest of the country. These are very real costs that families will have to bear. It's going to show up in your airline tickets and your food costs and on what it costs you to heat and cool your home.
Now, the president leads in polls where Americans are asked who would be better at dealing with the economy. And voter confidence in him has remained high, even during this economic downturn we're experiencing. If you are the Trump campaign, how do you aim to showcase strength of the economy under the current climate we're in?
Well, if you look at the last few months, we've obviously been through severe economic straits because of COVID. But we've also seen about 9 million jobs come back the past 3 months. And we see a number of states, a handful of states that are actually down to 5% or less. And that's just a few states. But it really shows the contrast between states that are reopening their economies versus states that remain largely shut down. And Vice President Biden recently said he'd consider actually shutting down the entire nation once again. We know that our economy, our families cannot bear such an extensive repeat of what we saw earlier this year. And if you want to see how those two roads look, the differences of those two roads, look at the states that are being able to reopen versus the ones that are still shut down. It's quite the contrast.
Joel Griffith with the Heritage Foundation, thank you.
Thank you for having me.